While others celebrate the wins,
Yes.
We celebrate the mud.
each episode has a special guest.
Tony-nominated actress, Broadway's Lily Cooper.
Tashir Zameda.
David A. Gregory.
Getting messy with muddy topics.
We are going to be talking about grief journey.
With hilarious moments
Now get over here.
And deep conversations.
I'm ashamed to even admit this, but this is what happened.
This is Into the Mud.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Into the Mud podcast. While others celebrate the wins,
We celebrate the mud. I'm Alex Cumin.
and I'm Drew King, and we are so excited to have one of our amazing guests today, the incredible, remarkable Shayla Benoit.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So Shayla is a fantastic filmmaker, videographer, editor, but also actress and dancer and singer.
Yes.
So Shayla and I first crossed paths in the musical theater world through my roommate Tim, who's literally directly behind you.
Hi, Tim.
Filming this camera.
What's
Hey,
up,
Tim.
Tim Grady Films. Hashtag Tim Grady Films.
And we are here today to talk about an outrageously muddy topic that I think a lot of people can relate to, which is cancer. Yay!
It's so much fun.
Cancer.
Cancer. Woo!
So
How many times have you had it?
None yet.
Good. Thrilled for you.
Must
Fingers
be nice.
crossed. But look, everyone in my family has died from cancer, so I'm with you. So
Okay. All right. Well, there it is. Here we go. I brought it up.
Anyway, so Shayla, first and foremost,
Yeah.
before we get into the muddiness of where you are currently with your recovery and with your health and literally gloves out battling the healthcare system, can you just give us a quick rundown background of your diagnosis? And I know it's not going to be quick, and that's okay.
Well, and it's a moment.
So where
in
did it
time.
begin and what happened?
So in 2019, it kind of all began. I was experiencing a lot of symptoms that I didn't know were symptoms at the time. It started with a rash on my chest that was bleeding and itchy and gross. I was itching all over the rest of my body, but you could really only see it on my chest. I had a cough that was just kind of morphing. I took a lot of meds, went to a lot of doctors. Oh, you have, the flu, you've got this, you've got that. Nothing helped. And then I had this like pure exhaustion where it feels like someone has taken your soul out of your body. And I kept thinking like, can I just not hack it in New York anymore? Like, is this just not the place I need to be? Because I'm always carrying so much equipment and so many bags for my job. And I was just really struggling on the subway. I live on a 4th floor walk up, getting up the stairs. So the day before I went into the hospital, I was actually just thinking the last time I was on camera was the day before I went to the hospital, and Tim was filming me. So here we are again.
Wow.
But yeah.
So full circle.
Full circle of life right here on the pod.
Wow.
So I went home that day after we filmed. We'd been filming, Tim was interviewed, I was interviewed, and I just looked at I was really struggling to breathe, and I just looked up my stairs and I was like, I can't get up the stairs. So I had to call a friend to help carry my bags up the stairs. The next day I went to the ENT, and he got it. And I had already been to the ENT because at that point,
ear, nose, and throat.
ear, nose, and throat. I had already been to the ENT a few weeks before because I had laid down to go to bed and I felt my airway closing.
Oh my gosh.
And it felt like somebody was kind of strangling
Asphyxiating
me.
you.
And so then I laid on my side and then I could breathe again. And I was like, what is happening? And I thought for a split second, do I have cancer? And I was like, what? You're acting like a crazy person. Like you don't have cancer. I've never done drugs. I've never smoked. I have no family history. I'm an active person. None of it added up. Went to the ENT. He gave me steroids and antibiotics. Didn't know that steroids are part of cancer treatment. So I was feeling much better. The second the steroids stopped, everything came back again.
They didn't do an x-ray right there?
At the time, no, because he had scoped me. When I felt like something is closing my airway, I was like, oh, let me get scoped. And I forgot that those are two different things that they scope, And he's like, I'm not seeing anything, but there's blood in your mucus. So let's give this and this. And I actually had gone to another doctor in Florida, and bottom line is their office closed early, and so they're like, oh, we should get you a chest they forgot about me in the office is what was happening. They forgot about me. And that was cute. And so like, oh, well, we should get you a chest x-ray. And they're like, can you come back? I was like, this is the second time I've already come back. So long story short, I ended up getting the chest x-ray when I went back to the ENT. And then I was about to get on the subway and he called me and said, you need to go to the ER right now. I think he had an idea of what it might have been, but he was like, I think it's definitely pneumonia and you need to just go. We can't get you into a pulmonologist quick enough. So just go to the ER. Tim came with me.
I remember.
Yeah. And that was because I was like, hey, I'm going to the ER. I have pneumonia. I'm just going to get some IV antibiotics and be on my way. And thank God he was like, no one needs to be in the hospital by themselves. I'm coming with you. And Tim, and I mean, I could cry about it, but Tim would literally help save my life. And
Tim's like, we gotta go.
and
Roll.
he's
Keep
like,
rolling.
I didn't. He'll keep saying that, but really he did. I mean, the man slept on the ER floor. Like he was there for me when I really need him in like the most dire time. So again, super long story short, it ended up being primary mediastinal B-cell lymphoma, which is found in young women. They don't know why. I'm part of a study. It's like young women in their late 20s, early 30s.
And in layman terms, that is
It's
lung
lymphoma.
cancer. Lymphoma. Okay.
It's lymphoma, so it's blood cancer actually. So
I didn't
actually
know.
what
Okay.
ended up happening, it's blood cancer. So mine manifested as a tumor, and the tumor took up basically my entire chest and had collapsed my right lung and was pushing on my heart. So that's why I couldn't breathe. They ended up draining like 2 liters of fluid essentially from my lung.
How big was the tumor when they first found it?
That it was basically my whole chest, but I didn't know it. I didn't know how like dire everything was until much later. I knew it was serious, but my oncologist was really great at saying, you have a really aggressive cancer, but we have a really aggressive chemo regimen that we're going to put you on to combat that. So I went into 5 days of infusion, meaning, you know, you get plugged in Monday morning and you're plugged in all the way till Friday night for 6 rounds. And this was in January of 2020, which was like the greatest time to get a respiratory.
Happy days were on the way. Oh,
Just
my
during a
God.
respiratory global pandemic, it was super great times. So yeah, so I did my first round of chemo in January 2020 in New York. And my doctor told me, like, you're severely immunocompromised. You can't be on the subway. You can't hug people. You can't touch people. Like, you have to be like a bubble girl. So we decided, my family lives in Florida. So I flew home in February of 2020. And we all know what happens after that. So then basically because I was so immunocompromised for so long, I lived in my parents' house for 2.5 years, and I wasn't allowed to leave the house for most of that time.
Oh my God.
So I basically just saw my immediate family. My sister was actually pregnant while I was going through chemo, so I really didn't see her much because I couldn't be around her while she was pregnant. So like the small wins of being able to get my own gas. I like was weeping at the gas station of just like being able to pump my own gas, being able to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And then I was in full, I did the whole chemo situation. It was very intense, changed my entire body. And then in June of 2022, I came back to New York, and in August of 2022, I got my 2-year post-chemo PET scan, and they found thyroid cancer.
Oh my
Which
God.
honestly messed with me so much more than the first cancer, because I was like, I did everything everyone asked me to do.
Yeah.
I did everything everyone asked me to do, and then some. And then to have something else, so then I got surgery for that, and that was in
What kind of?
hemithyroidectomy, so where they take half your.
What do you know? What the type of thyroid cancer?
Oh,
Was it
papillary.
Papillary.
Hey, girl, we have many things to talk about, but yeah, so papillary thyroid cancer, 2022, had surgery at the end of September 2022, and here we are today. So that's my quick
God.
story.
Oh my
what
God.
Well, I have
It's a lot.
million
Yeah,
fucking
hit me.
questions for
So
you.
many.
Hit me,
Oh
and I have many
my
questions for you
We'll
as well.
We'll get to me in a second.
Yes.
Wow, where do you even start with that?
One of the things that jumped out for me. So you say chemo changed your whole body.
Yeah.
In what ways?
Well, and I'm very open about this because I just feel like the more we can be open about things,
Yes.
the less
Please,
people
that's
feel
why
alone.
we're here, yeah.
Yes.
I had to literally potty train myself again. I was just peeing myself. I wore Depends all the time. I was peeing myself constantly. And then I ended up I didn't know literally for 2 years that I had something called SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, I believe is what it is. So basically the chemo wiped all the bacteria from my small intestine, and then I had an overgrowth. So what that meant for me is if I took a bite of something that didn't agree with my system, I would immediately be shitting my brains out.
Oh my God.
Like literally running to the bathroom.
With no control
With
at all.
no control. And it was literally like it would just immediately come through my body. So I don't pee myself as much anymore, which is
Wins!
great.
Yay!
Love that. Incredible.
We'll work on that high five.
And I still can't high five.
It's okay. It's
That's
okay.
not the chemo, that's
it's
me.
not so yeah, so that, and then, so basically I really have to watch what I eat because I still deal with, I never know what's going to like really upset my stomach. My joints are just always a mess now. And I really struggled just to walk after I had all of the chemo. And so I really trained in my solitary confinement. I did a lot of PT, a lot of OT. I worked my way up to putting like weights in my backpack and would go to the local high school when no one was there and go up and down because I live on the 4th floor walk up. So like I would go up and down the bleachers just to like I basically trained to be able to just like live and do the things that I need to be able to do. So I would say the digestion, the joints, my energy level, it just, I don't even know how to explain it. I just feel like a different human, but trying to fit back into, I don't know if you all feel like this, but it's like after the pandemic, it's like everything's changed and nothing has changed.
Yeah.
So it feels like this weird thing where I've come back and I'm like, oh wow, everything kind of looks the same. And I'm doing kind of the same thing, but in a completely different way. It just feels so different to me.
Well, it's also, it's mind-blowing to think that you have multiple traumas that define those 3 to 4 years of in-betweenness. The pre-pandemic, the post-pandemic. It's not just the global pandemic that you were going through and that we were all going through. For you, was like massive trauma on top of that. So of course it has to feel so different.
Well, and a lot of anxieties because I ended up getting COVID a year ago, and my immune system was, I believe I'm still considered to be immunocompromised, but it was much better when I ended up getting COVID. But it's been a year and I can't get rid of the cough. And like, it's a cough where like I will sometimes vomit from like how much and it wakes me up in the middle of the night all the time. And so I'm still trying to figure that out because they don't really know what to tell people. I believe it's considered long COVID.
Yeah.
They don't really know what to tell normal people, quote unquote. But someone with my medical history, they haven't really figured that out yet. So I'm still trying to figure all that. And then just like the anxiety of relapse, of when you've been told that COVID can kill you. And now that I know that I have a cough for a year, thank God I didn't get it before, like I really do fear what would have happened had I gotten it. So I am honestly grateful for the solitary confinement because now I see what would have happened and it wouldn't have been good. But it's being on a subway, just people, germs, all those things just feel like super scary to me sometimes. And I'm getting better and better as time goes on. Like I'll see a Broadway show without a mask. Sometimes it gives me anxiety. If I start to feel the anxiety, I'll just put a mask on. But it is this just like your whole kind of worldview shifts.
Yeah.
In a way.
I have 1,000 questions.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the feeling of moving through the fear, the fear of it?
Yeah.
And just to give a quick, I can give a quick
yes,
overview.
Please, I would love to know what.
Just
yes,
to
please tell
context
me.
this.
Yes.
So I have had papillary thyroid cancer 3 times. I was 21 when I first got it. I was routine checkup. They felt a lump in my throat. It was completely. I had no idea like what. I was completely taken by surprise.
Absolutely.
It was 5 days before I was supposed to start my senior year of college. They sent me in for an ultrasound. Ultrasound went to biopsy. Biopsy went to, and literally within 2 weeks, I was under the knife. They did a total thyroidectomy. So they took my entire thyroid gland out, 17 lymph nodes on the right side of my neck. It had spread to 4 of them. And then I did radiation therapy that year. And thyroid cancer is supposed to be the easy cancer.
Yeah, they love to say that.
They love to say.
Yeah,
it's
what
the
a-
Is there an
what a
easy
buzzword.
cancer?
Yeah.
Is there an easy cancer?
You're so lucky. You're so lucky.
You're so lucky.
You're so
this
lucky.
This is walk away cancer.
Astrological cancer is being an easy cancer.
Yeah.
Right? Terrible.
We'll allow that.
That was a bad joke. We'll cut that one.
I mean,
Yeah.
July 15th. Hi. She's a Cancer rising, and certainly it does. Rises right up to my goddamn neck. So then, their whole thing is it's easy, it's treatable. We get it out.
Yep.
No problem.
Yep.
5 years later, it comes back, another round of tests that took 6 months to determine if it was back fully. We ended up doing just radiation for that round. And then 2 years ago, coming up in the fall, it'll be 2 years, they found it again. Surgery for this time, they took 3 lymph nodes out, and it was in 2 of them. And each time I have asked, what am I doing wrong?
Yes.
What can I change? Is this a diet thing? Is it a lifestyle thing, a stress thing? And because our medical system is
Trash.
absolute trash, unhinged, complete horseshit that takes no lifestyle or holistic approach whatsoever, every single one of my doctors was like, no, actually, there's actually nothing, no dietary thing that you need to be, which blew my mind because I'm like, so you're telling me I could eat McDonald's every day and and we're just fine? Or so I've been starting to dig much deeper into functional medicine, which is this idea of looking at the entire patient, right? Looking at their trauma history, their lifestyle, their relationships, what they do for work, their sleep schedules, looking at everything they do and making a very individualized plan for that person because we are all very different, right? And I've been really going heavy into just holistic living at this point and really trying to figure out if the Western medicine system is not going to give me any answers, I need to, and it makes sense. Okay, I'm going to stop there so that we can keep talking.
Wait, I do have a question though.
Okay, yeah.
So do they believe that it spread because it had gone into your lymph nodes? So is it mainly your lymph nodes where it's reoccurring?
So it was in the lymph nodes that it was reoccurring, and when I asked why it has come back, they were like, because it was a big chunk of it the first time. And they said because it was so big that your rate of recurrence, you're at a higher risk of recurrence because it was so big the first time. What I still don't understand is if part of why thyroid cancer is so treatable is because it's very easy to isolate in treatment. So you don't have to do chemo, you don't have to do immunotherapy, you just do what's called radioactive iodine, which attaches to the thyroid cells, which in theory, if you don't have a thyroid gland producing thyroid cells, you shouldn't have any in your body. And you do a low iodine diet, you do some other things. But my thing is if you blasted it with enough radiation, then why are there even any cells in there and where do they regrow from?
Yes. These are my questions.
These are the questions.
I had 30 full days of chemo. 30. 24 hours.
Yes.
For 30 days.
Yeah.
I just was nuked. It nuked everything in my body. Everything in my body. And I'm like, how does something grow from that? I don't understand that. And and also I love when you're like, I just had radiation. I love when they're like, it's just surgery.
It's just surgery.
It's just, I'm sorry. Is there anything that is just anything? And the trauma that comes with it, even though it's an easy cancer.
Well, and so
it's not easy.
It's not easy.
No.
And it's part of my struggle is hearing from all my doctors, you're lucky, this is easy, nothing to worry about. It coming back 3 times, it's still cancer.
It's still cancer, babe.
And grappling with this, well, it's not as serious as stage 4 lymphoma. It's not as, you didn't have to lose your hair. It's not as, you were able to treat, all of this, yes, but. I have a lot of yes, but thoughts in my head about why I shouldn't be, I'm not allowed to walk into the cancer survivor room,
I invite you in.
Oh, thank you.
I am the queen of the.
No, you are the queen of the room. You are the queen of the room.
I'll be serving hors d'oeuvres as the cater waiter.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm never going around being like, your cancer gets
Wasn't
it. You know,
as-
like it's like, you know what I mean? I don't think you can judge it like that. And are you getting that mainly from your doctors, or are you getting that from other people too?
Doctors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
I
I'm
think
like,
there's
yeah.
a desensitization. Is that a word? Desensitization?
Desensitization.
Desensitization.
Yeah.
Keep that in.
Desensitization.
I think there's a thing when you see this every day that sometimes doctors don't know what they're saying to you, and that what they're saying to you is going to keep playing in your head over and over and over again. So when they say things like that, of "you're so lucky," you know, all these things. I mean, two things can be true at once. Yes.
Being 21
And two things can be
being
true at
told
once.
you're so lucky that this is the cancer
This
you
awful
have.
thing is happening to you.
You're just like, okay, then I guess I'm not allowed to be scared about it.
Yeah.
Even though I'm barely an adult.
Yeah.
That's,
It's scary
yeah.
no matter what age you're at. I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear that word and it's just paralyzing. I mean, it's.
Yeah, talk about
I
that.
wanna-
Bringing it back to that, I want you
Yeah.
to talk about that mountain of fear. I can't possibly imagine.
On top of
especially
COVID.
On top of COVID,
Yeah.
but then having this diagnosis, and I mentioned briefly in the questions, I have yet to face, have to stare my mortality in the face and say, what's going to happen here? That's something that both of you have had to deal with. I have not. Can you elaborate on? Tell me about how terrifying that is. But honestly, like that's fear that I can't understand. So do you want to open up a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be
I didn't
great.
understand it at first either. I was in such denial, and I don't even know if denial is the right word. I was completely and utterly shocked.
Yeah.
I remember when they came in and Tim was sitting next to me, and they were like, "You have cancer." And they told me the cancer that I had. And at this point in time, they had just given me, I had the chest x-ray, and then I had a CT with contrast. No other tests have been done. I was in the ER, the New York ER, for 3 days.
That is a nightmare.
That's
Like,
cancer. That's what gave you cancer.
Yeah.
That was
That's what
like
gave you
being
cancer.
in the psych ward. I mean, Tim and I mean,
my gosh.
we were crying, we were laughing. The woman sharing a room with me at 4 a.m. starts yelling, "Can I get a fucking hot dog?" And this was the moment where Tim and I had just decided that we were going to go to sleep. And we both text each other, "Did she just ask for a fucking hot dog?" And then we couldn't stop laughing. So anyway, they tell me that I have cancer.
Okay.
And also, I had female Doogie Howser. She was actually 12. She came in, and the first time she came in,
Female Doogie Howser.
she was absolutely female Doogie Howser. I was like, "You're not even old enough to be here. Like, how are you telling me this?"
When
And
did
so
you finish med school? And
when
was it with
was
blocks?
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was actually yesterday.
Yeah.
So the first time she came in, she asked him to leave, and she said, "Do you have HIV?" And I said, "No, I don't have HIV." And then she kept pushing me because she thought I was lying. And I said, why do you think I have HIV? Why are you asking me this? And she said, "Because you're presenting very normal, considering what we're seeing in your scans." At the time, they thought it was pneumonia. They're like, "There's no reason why it would be like something is awry."
They were
essentially.
looking at your blood count.
Yeah, and I said, "Well, I do not have HIV. Feel free to take a blood test if you want to, but like that ain't it." So she left. So the next time she comes in, she's like, "Well, you have cancer." So I'm like, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I
don't
was
know.
like, no.
HIV,
Yeah. Well,
cancer.
but then she starts going into more detail of like, "You're gonna get a PET scan. The cancer team's coming in." Like all these things that like I've watched enough Grey's Anatomy to know of like, oh, this is not good. And so literally they left. She left. And at the time she was like, "You have thymic cancer," which is this is your thymus, and I don't understand the difference between thymus and mediastinum. I haven't seen that on Grey's Anatomy yet, so I'm not fully sure the difference.
Make an episode, Shonda.
Hey, Shonda girl. So when they left, I looked at Tim and I was like, "There's no way they know what cancer I have. Meredith Grey would have gotten a biopsy." Legit, the first thing that I said to Tim when
she would have.
Meredith Grey, she would have gotten a biopsy.
She would have.
And you know what? They ended up getting a biopsy, and it ended up being lymphoma. So it's, I was in such shock and denial, and all my friends kept being like, "Are you going to share this? Are you going to share?" Because like it started getting out in my friend circle, and I couldn't really face it myself. And then eventually I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be out for 6 months, and I'm going to just disappear. So I probably should just let the people know. So I just kind of wrote this post of, I have cancer, but we're going to fight it. And I have a great prognosis and whatnot. And then The response was just completely overwhelming, and people were lovely and just, came to my aid in any way imaginable. And then when it became that I was stuck in a room for 2.5 years by myself, I just kind of started sharing online and it kind of helped. Just talking about it and being very honest about it helped with the fear. To be honest, I didn't have as much fear the first time as I did the second time.
Why do you
Because
think
of
that is?
PTSD, maybe?
It was
Or-
because it was the whole I did everything you told me to.
Yeah.
And I had the whole thing. We were taught with these Disney stories of like the hard part's over and now everything will be fine and rainbows and butterflies, and I kept doing the thing of like
That's the point of In the Mud.
Yeah,
Literally.
Well, and I kept doing this thing
Yeah.
of like, oh, I got cancer because I'm gonna meet McDreamy in the hospital and he'll be my husband, or like, I kept doing all these
like
things.
everything has a reason.
Everything has a reason.
The Disney thing is
know?
interesting because I've had that thought before of like the hero slays the dragon and they ride off into the sunset, and the Disney story never looks at post sunset.
Yes.
And how scared the hero is of the dragon's fucking brother coming for some vengeance.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like what else, like the story doesn't end there.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I have such like anxiety. A huge struggle for me is doing anything that could potentially give me cancer again.
Every day.
Oh, man.
Every day. And it's kind of like living your life. And I this is the part I'm working on right now. I can't have every decision I make be literally a life or death decision. And that's what it feels like. It feels like these like heavy, well, if I eat this,
If I eat something that's not organic, if I have, God forbid, I have a drink, or more than one, because alcohol is one of the worst things that you can put in your body for cancer. If I smoke weed, if I don't exercise so much, if I don't keep my stress down, if I don't sleep well, every single thing is
all of that.
you got to be careful because you're going to give yourself cancer again.
If I smell mold, anything that like is respiratory, when I'm on the subway and I just see like all the grime and there's so many things, everything you just listed. And I actually just like a month or two ago, I've been very fortunate that my work has come back in a big way, which I'm so grateful for. What I do is so intensely physical.
Yeah.
And I'm just constantly figuring out, how do I do this now? And and I ended up having a breakdown because between the cough that wakes me up in the middle of the night, when you're not sleeping, you can't cope with anything.
Correct.
Yes.
And so I was just like, how am I going to do this? How do I hold boundaries? I was saying to myself at the time, I was like, I'm failing. And it wasn't like I'm failing at my job or anything like that. When you're in a room for 2.5 years by yourself and you can eat the way you need to and you can walk all day and do your PT and sleep when you need to because you're not working, I made this promise to myself at the time of, I'm going to put my health first. I'm going to do everything I need to like be okay. And the realization I came to as I was like, you're failing, you're doing all these things, it's like, I still am doing my best and I still am putting my health first, but I also would really like to be a functioning human being and be in the world and do my job and do things that I love to do and hang out with my friends and be a functioning member of society. But it's figuring out, that's the part that's in the mud right now that I don't have answers for, that I'm figuring out on a daily basis of like, it feels like a very long science experiment of like, what works, what doesn't work, what makes me feel good, what doesn't make me feel good. And it's, I don't know. And in life, no matter what you've gone through, losing a parent, going through cancer, a breakup, whatever it is there ever the other side? Isn't life just one big ass transition? It's never like we get to one place and it's like, well, I did it. Here we are.
It's done.
We made it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I think it's a constant learning curve. And I'm working on being okay with that. Of just like, we just take it day by day.
Yeah.
You know, and there are the days that I'll wake up with a panic in the middle of the night. If I do a breast exam and I think I feel something. I was doing so many breast exams.
Oh,
My doctor was like, girl.
they are annoyed with
They're
me
like,
at the hospital.
yes.
I'm like, and the annoying part too is because I don't know if this happens to you, but I am so attuned to every bump now that I'll be like, can you just give me an ultrasound? Can you just do it? And they'll be like, well, we don't recommend it. And I'm like, I understand that, but I've had cancer 3 times. So can we just do the preventative thing? And again, because our system is so geared towards cutting out the disease after it happens rather than anything preventative, or we talk about like, sure, preventative screenings, I guess, but we are not at all in a preventative mindset with our health or medicine. And so like, that's what also made me so upset, was to hear like, when I'm like, what can I change? What can I do differently? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, yeah, there is. So I've do you know Dr. Mark Hyman? Have you heard of him? He's like a functional medicine doctor. But I went to this retreat earlier this year where it was led by a board certified physician who works with him, and then also a like Eastern medicine practitioner. So we did a lot of like breath work, meditation, yoga, and then also talked about the microbiome in the gut. And we talked about the types of food you should be eating to prevent cancer and the lifestyle choices. So tons of sleep, not storing stuff in plastic, trying to eliminate, obviously we live in New York City, so it's going to be tough to eliminate the environmental factors. Eating the rainbow every day was a fun thing that I'm
I eat
trying
the rainbow
to do.
every day, honey.
I bet you do.
Yeah, baby.
Sometimes 2 to 3 times a
Eat
day.
it up, honey. Eat it up. But things like that we are just not taught how to do.
Yeah.
And when you look at what is shoved in our face in terms of what we should be eating or buying or how we should be living our lives, it's so contradictory to any sort of like long-term health.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I become a crazy person when I get so, because there's so many things that you like, the list goes on and on. And it's like, once you start going down that path of like, what can I change? What can I do? I tried the natural deodorant thing.
That's where I draw the line.
That's where
one.
I end up. I tried so many natural deodorants, and then it kept giving me rashes. And
Rashes?
a rash was one of my symptoms. So then it was a whole triggering
and then a whole
PTSD.
other spiral.
And I was like, you know what? We're going back to Dove. This episode is sponsored by
Dove.
deodorant. But I was like, there are certain things that and then I get mad too, because I'm just like, I just want to be a normal person who can like go out and have a cheeseburger and not worry about shitting her pants on the way home.
Yeah.
You know, like or having a relapse and and talking about facing. I find that like I'm less afraid of death and more afraid of a relapse. And I know that sounds probably so bizarre, but more fear of like treatment and a relapse than actually dying. And when I went in for the thyroid surgery, everything comes back to Grey's Anatomy for me. Tim again came with me because he's a champ. And I sent him an email before because I was just like, all your favorite characters on Grey's Anatomy are the ones that die. The patients that you love the most are the ones that are gone.
God.
So I was just like, okay, I sent him an email with my family's contact info. And then I said, I honestly think I'll be fine, but I just need you to know that like, if I were to become a vegetable, if something were to happen, I just unplug me. And I was like, and then please play an acoustic version of Bye 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 at my funeral and tell everyone to wear color.
Great choice.
Thank you.
There we go.
Would that not be hilarious? Like, you don't know what the song is and then it's Bye Bye Bye. Like, come on.
That's amazing.
Just sad bye bye bye.
But then my
funny.
friend Erica Wilpon.
No. Hi, Erica.
Hey, Erica. She also came after surgery to help. And so she called me the day before and she said, hey, I want to ask you, is there like anything that you need, or want me to know before you go into surgery? And so I told her everything I just told you about like my wishes. And she sat there in silence and she goes, I just meant like, do you want to watch Star Wars afterwards? Or
like ice cream? Do you want
is
like
ice cream good? A popsicle?
Jenny's? I can spring for Jenny's.
Oh, Jenny's is
I got
legit.
My
I got a
ashes
lot
in the
of ice cream.
Hudson.
Yeah, exactly. Like these are my death wishes. I like it was, and we laughed for like 5 minutes straight. And like those are the moments that like
The laughter
is the key. And so when you said slaying the dragon, I named the first tumor Maleficent because I was thinking I was like, what am I gonna? I thought, what is something I was terrified of as a child, but I'm not as scared of right now? And so Maleficent is the first thing that came to mind. So I was like, we're just going to name the tumor Maleficent. The second tumor was Iago. So we went on a Disney villain theme because Iago is like tiny, annoying. We're just gonna like flick him into a lamp in Agrabah, like it's gonna be done.
And
That
it's gone.
Iago is the thyroid cancer.
Iago is right, just an annoying little shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Get out of here.
So, like,
but you keep
Gilbert
coming
Gottfried.
back, but get out of
And,
here.
and the tumor actually sounded like Gilbert Gottfried.
Of
so
course
I
it
was
did,
like,
yeah.
you know, this is. But I find like doing silly things like that. I named my IV pole C3PO.
There's actually there is so much humor. Like that was one of the things. So like I remember the night that I got diagnosed, I was talking to my mom, and both my parents actually have had thyroid cancer as well. So
it's their fault.
it is
So
their
it is.
fault. It's
I knew it.
very
I knew it was
minor.
someone's
Thanks,
fault.
genetics.
God.
Whatever. My mom passed down fat cans, so that's all right. We got some wins.
All right.
We joked about I was just in such a up and down,
course.
and she was like, well, we were talking about the thyroid surgery is they make an incision in your neck right here, and she was like, well, on the plus side, you can be a Pez dispenser for Halloween, and that like
That's funny.
we just like lost our minds laughing.
Yes.
And it's like those are like, that's the moment I remember. Right?
Yeah,
I remember
of course,
all
of
I
course.
remember crystal clear a ton of moments, but
Yeah.
I also remember those.
Of course.
Yeah.
And one of the things, so as you were just talking about like your friend asking you what you need, one of the things I wanted to know that I thought was what were some of the most helpful things that people said or did for you because for me, what was not as helpful was people being like, let me know anything you need. And I was like, well, I'm not.
I don't have
Don't
that. Yeah,
task me
I
with
don't-
what to tell you to
I
help
don't
me
have
with.
that
Yeah.
brain
Yeah,
right now.
I don't have that brain.
Absolutely, and it's all so well intentioned.
It is.
Yeah,
and
always,
it's
always.
and
So
it's
well
such an
intentioned.
absolutely
Yeah.
thank you for that. But it was the people that just were like, what's your address? Here's 4
Yep.
pints
Yes.
of ice cream.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Or geez, sorry.
Please silence your cell phones.
Silence your cell phones. I apologize. Or the people that sent me like a little caviar gift card so I could just order food to be delivered. You know,
Yes.
just the stuff that was like, it's done, here it is.
Yeah. People are like, I get people asking me all the time. I have someone that was just diagnosed. What can I send them? What can I do? And they're like, what's the best thing that you received? And I was like, well, for me, it was an inflatable T-Rex costume. But that's not going to be the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, not
Maybe
everyone's
don't send
gonna
that to
want
grandma.
Yeah, grandma's not going to want an
Yeah.
inflatable T-Rex costume. But I think the gift cards for food, and sometimes not sending food because you don't know what people can and can't eat, what they can and
Yes.
can't tolerate. So like a gift card for food. Honestly, everyone's like, we want to set up a GoFundMe. I felt so uncomfortable about that because I was like, I work hard, I have savings, I'll be fine. Y'all, thank God, because I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know I was going to be out of work for 2.5 years and have a mountain of medical bills. So honestly, money is I know that's like a weird taboo thing to say.
No, it's
but
only
people-
weird and taboo because we have a system that makes it
Correct.
incredibly expensive to be sick.
Incredibly. And so then people can decide what they're going to use that for their medical bills, for whatever they need to make them feel comforted. But for me, in terms of just like friendship, the people that just said, this is really hard and didn't try to make it better.
Yeah.
And just let you say the thing that you needed to say and just kind of held that space of just like, this really does suck. Honestly gave me such relief because it was like, okay, they get it and they see what's happening. And again, everyone's so well-intentioned when they're like, but you're going to fight it. You're going to be great. You're doing so great. You're so brave. You're so inspiring. You're so da-da-da. Thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate that. For me, the thing that brought me the most comfort and calmness were the people that just held space and said, you know what? This does suck.
It's the Brene Brown sympathy versus empathy.
100%.
Yes.
We talked about this with another guest recently where it's like at least you have the
Yeah,
need.
a lot of people are like, well,
Or-
at least this happened during the global pandemic when everyone was doing nothing. And it's
Yeah.
like, but did you get to go to the grocery store? Because I didn't.
Yeah.
Did you pump your own gas? Because I didn't.
Yeah.
Did you fear for your life every day? Oh my God,
Every
when I would
day.
go to the hospital, because every day I'd have to get my bag changed out for the chemo because it was 5 days. I would come home and I would meticulously wipe down everything in the car, Lysol everything, wash my whole bag, take a shower, put my clothes immediately. I would literally like get naked when I walked in, put my clothes, because we didn't know how it was spreading at the time. And so it was just like, it could be on anything. Anything could kill me at this point in time. Like that was like literally the
horrifying.
stakes. And then back to the healthcare thing, I'm like 30 years younger than everyone I'm in the hospital with. All the time, every time, all the time. And I see these people, and I had not great chemo brain where I was very confused and didn't. So I would come up with these like, my doctor was like, "Are you an engineer?" Because I had spreadsheets, I had checklists, I had all these.
Of course you
these
did.
things. Well, because when I was up here in New York, I had like really incredible care, and then I had my whole community. So I really just kind of checked out. Was like, people literally brought me the pills I needed to take, and I took them without question because it was like I was so taken care of. When the pandemic hit, I had no one, because no one was allowed to be there with me. I remember going to the hospital, and it was like, you may only have a person with you if you're in active labor or you're dying. That was it. That was the sign on the hospital.
Technically.
And it's like, and so like, I had some lovely care in Florida, and then I had some not lovely care, some really scary care in Florida. I'm like, I have a BFA in musical theater, and I know how to clean a PICC line better than you know how to clean a PICC line. I ended up having to get a port because they didn't know how to handle my PICC line. Oh my gosh. So I created those checklists and spreadsheets because I couldn't trust my own brain. I had no one else with me, and I didn't want to die.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no one else is going to be on top of this except for me.
Yeah.
And then I just am looking at all these elderly people that have no one and are out of it or too sick. And I'm just like, how do we have a system that just like
Is
so broken?
expensive.
So expensive
It's so
and so
expensive.
fucked
So
up.
expensive.
And the way you have to advocate for yourself
That's
and
what I
have
wanted to ask, yeah.
it's just so, I felt like I was like a lawyer having to be like, I called Sarah at 12:59 on September 3rd. And like, I
have the receipts.
And I have the receipts, and here's the confirmation number. And because she told me this was going to be covered. And like, I ended up actually posting, this was, I want to say like, around September-ish or October of 2020 when I was out of chemo, I posted a screenshot of my first day of medical bills in the hospital.
And how much was it?
Well, one of the charges was $221,000, and that wasn't even the full
On day
one. On day one, and that wasn't even the full list. And I posted it because I'm like, people don't get it, what it looks like.
And you
I
had
think
you had insurance?
And I had insurance. And that was the thing that it's like, I think when you think about the Affordable Care Act, people think that it's a handout. And people who know me know that I work really hard. And I love my work. I love what I do. And I am paying for insurance. So I really wanted people to know that this is what day one of cancer treatment looks like. And this is how expensive it is. And if someone didn't have insurance, they'd be bankrupt. And then you're choosing between paying for your illness or living or dying.
Yep.
Like, why are we putting on sick people having to fight so hard to why do things need to be approved? People ask me all the time, what would you change? I would change so many things, but I think the one in my mind feasible thing is, why do we need approvals for tests? When I went in for my two-year post-chemo PET scan, the insurance company denied it, saying it was experimental, when my oncologist ordered it, and they ended up finding the second cancer from this PET scan. That saved my life. And it's like, what? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
The treatment too, I remember for my second round. No, sorry, this was between my first and second round. So for my particular, it's pharmaceuticals too. Mm-hmm. It's then the cost of drugs. Mm-hmm. So did you do the thyroid injections for papillary, or did you just go off?
I did the hemi. They caught it very early because
Okay.
I had been scanned.
Right.
So they had caught it in a very early stage.
So one of the things that was so surprising to me, so the first time I did it, you have to get you have to go off of your thyroid. When you get your thyroid gland removed, you have to take a thyroid hormone replacement pill for the rest of your life, every day. So that's something I do. But part of the treatment is you have to go off of it for a little while so that any latent thyroid cells will appear in your body, and then they can wipe it out with the radiation.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go off it for a significant amount of time. And when you are off your thyroid, when you don't have that hormone in your body, that's the master hormone that controls all of your other hormones, body temperature, metabolism, everything else. you plummet as a human being, right? It's brain fog, it's body temperature's out of whack, you're exhausted, you just are not, you're not a person, right? And you have to be off it for about 6 weeks, like end to end, 6 weeks. Luckily, I was just a college student, and when I was doing it during like winter break, so I didn't have to like really function as a human, but I remember it was like one of the lowest periods of my life. The second time I did it, I was offered the opportunity to get a thyroid injection, which is a drug where instead of going off my medication, I just go in for 3 days of injections and then it's done. And that with insurance was like $800 a vial, right? And again,
With insurance,
right?
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking at the time, what if I was like a single mom? Like, what if I had a family? Or what if I was in a different, like all of these what ifs that I wasn't, that I happened to be in a position where I could pay that and I had insurance. We have completely set up this system to absolutely screw everyone. And just money.
Money.
I can't even believe that on day one, it was
Day one of one
what was
charge.
it? What was it?
It was like they didn't. It was like I forget what exactly it was, but it was like a very vague description, like facility fee or something like that.
It was the hot dog for
something-
your
It was
for
the
your
hot dog
roommate.
for my roommate.
Yeah.
It's and then it's so crazy because like Amy Poehler's Smart Girls ended up reposting my post because I kind of was like, this is day one basically, and so then to see some of the comments and then people being like, well, you didn't break it down. I'm like, what?
What are you talking?
Why are you fighting?
Why are you defending?
Why are you defending this very broken healthcare system? And I pray that you don't know how bad it is until you're like in the thick of it. And I don't wish that upon anybody, but I don't understand why it is the way it is. I think it's a disservice to everyone.
Everyone.
And
Just having to
everyone
call.
should have insurance.
Yes.
Everyone should have insurance.
It's a basic human
It's
right.
a basic human right. And to me, it's not a political thing to say. It's just like,
No.
like if you get sick, like you should be able to be taken care of in a place that is well trained and that you can trust your doctors, because I know what it feels like to trust your doctors and I know what it feels like to not trust your doctors, and that's a really terrifying thing. When I'm like, I literally have a BFA in musical theater, like, and I watch Grey's Anatomy, but let me tell you, Grey's Anatomy got me through a lot.
And your Grey's Anatomy instincts actually were right on the target.
Well, and this is a ridiculous story, and I apologize ahead of time for what I'm about to say, but I got a bone marrow biopsy, which is basically where they put a wine key in your ass, where they just like literally go into your bone.
visual.
Yes, but it's literally a corkscrew that they put into your bone, and then they take a piece of your bone out. And I wasn't allowed to be put out for any of my procedures because my breathing was so compromised, so I was awake for everything.
And it's under anesthesia?
No, I was completely.
Or sorry, under like any
They
numbing?
did like lidocaine.
Lidocaine.
But lidocaine like was really
It's
hit or miss.
topical.
You can feel someone corkscrewing
For
your
sure.
bone.
And my friend Katie was with me holding my hand, and she was like, and I'm on all these drugs. She was like, do you know what's happening? I was like, they put a wine key in my ass. And she's like, yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Oh my
God. So
God.
after that, I hopped up on all these meds. They're like, okay, we're coming up with your chemo regimen. We're going to start. And I was talking like this, and I looked at my nurse and I was like, but wait a minute. When Izzy got cancer, Alex had to jizz in a cup for her eggs. I was like, and I was so dead serious. Alex had to jizz in a cup for her eggs, so what about my eggs? And they were looking at me just completely like, and they were like, oh, nice. Has no one talked to you about your fertility yet? And I was like, no. And so
Let's talk about that.
So let's talk about that. And so, I'm 34 years old, and they come in and they're like, okay, well, you're 34. At 35, your eggs are considered geriatric. Why are we using that term?
Still
I don't
using
know.
it.
We're definitely having a podcast about that.
Yeah,
or
you're
an episode about that.
we're geriatric. Your eggs, we don't know if your eggs are going to be good or not anyway. And at this point in time, I didn't know I was stage 4. I didn't know how serious this was. And so they were basically like, you could freeze your eggs, but that means that you'd have to delay chemo. You're going to be injecting hormones. It could make your tumor grow even more. So they're like, it is up to you. Oh, and insurance won't cover it because it's elective.
That choice of having to choose between your life or death health treatment, and then also, of course, that dream of being able to have your own children,
Yeah.
fertility versus your health, I'm so sorry that was even
And I
end
was-
up against you.
Well, and I could just feel the energy in the room of like, I don't think this is really a choice. I think I just have to, because I could tell the way they were telling, they didn't even want to have this talk with me. They were like, we just need to get this girl like started. And I,
ASAP.
like an angel, this amazing nurse, Irish nurse named Judy, I'll never forget her. She came and she said it, because she could, I mean, my head was spinning. I'm just like, how do I make this decision?
Yeah.
Right now.
Right. And they were like,
Right
we'll
now.
give you a few hours. Okay. So she came and sat on my bed and she just told me, she said, I got married young and we lived this remarkable life and have had so much fun. And then at 40, I got menopause early and we never had kids. And she was like, I was so angry because I felt like this decision was taken away from me. And then I realized, no, I made this decision actively without knowing about it by living the beautiful life that we've led. And I don't have any regrets about this. And she said to me, she's like, you can have kids in so many different ways, but you have to be here to have the kids.
Yeah.
And she was just like, start the chemo. And it was like Della Reese touched by an angel, like the light came over her. And I was like, thank you for that. Because I kind of knew in my body, because I could just feel how serious it was without people saying you have stage 4 cancer. I could just feel that because I kept saying, how big is this tumor? And they kept saying it's larger than a fist. And it wasn't until I had that 2-year post-chemo PET scan that I saw a picture of it. And it is like neon orange, my whole chest. It was massive. It was really scary. And so I listened to Judy and I decided that I wasn't gonna freeze my eggs. And I don't regret that decision because I'm here.
Yeah.
And they said it is a toss-up. You could be completely fine. And so I just was like, I want to be here and I'll figure out the rest later. And so, and honestly, because she gave me that talk, it just helped me in making that decision.
It is, that is something we don't acknowledge enough, that we talk very much specifically to women about, don't you want to have your own kids? And you're actually not a mother if you don't have, you're not a woman if you don't have your own kids, and adopt. Like we have this like very weird view of what parenting can be, because I'm in the same similar, but I'm 36. I'm like, do I want to freeze my eggs? I don't want to walk back into a hospital. I don't want to walk
If
back
I
into a
walk
hospital.
on the east side of Manhattan, I immediately have anxiety. I'm not even going to the hospital. Just being on the Q train, I'm like,
Yeah.
It's like
being in certain neighborhoods
Yes.
I can feel my whole body tense up.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, so you want to like go through like potentially like freezing your eggs and then maybe go through like a pregnancy where you have to go back into hospitals like a couple times a month? Is that what you want? And it's not at all what I want. And I'm still trying to I'm like, and there are other ways to parent. And there are other ways to like to have children in your life that don't involve birthing a child. Yeah. And that is not something we talk about enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of based in like the patriarchy, if you will, of like a woman's job is to have a child.
She is a vessel.
She is a vessel
She
for
is
the
a
children.
vessel.
I mean,
and I wonder
Yes.
why under the current.
Obviously.
yes,
Yeah.
it's and I
She's a vessel.
She's a vessel, honey. Have my kids.
so yeah, it's you just have to make all these decisions all the time, and I don't have any regrets. It's just like I'm here, and so like
We're so happy you're here.
thank you.
Like,
And that's the thing is like
Thank
it's
God.
holding the two truths of like I'm so grateful to be alive, to be here, to be as functioning as I am, and then at the same time it's still really hard on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And they're both true.
But I know we have to wrap it up. But one of my questions that I really wanted to ask you was like, did you have? Because one thing I struggled with was having this like light bulb aha moment of like 3 times cancer, and now you're gonna live life to the fullest every day, and I still get caught up in like little bullshit things all the time where I'm like, our last podcast episode was about like comparing yourself to other people, and I'm like, you've had cancer 3 times and you're still, and it's like, did you have that like light bulb moment of like, and now I live life on a higher plane and on a higher vibration? Because I don't know if it's just because I had easy cancer that I don't necessarily feel that.
I don't know if anyone can live their life on that level all day,
All the
every day.
time, yeah.
And I was struggling with like normal people problems, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Of like, oh my God, I found myself, there was a time where I was like, nothing will bother me ever again because I've been through this thing. And that's just not
If
realistic.
I've weathered this storm, I can weather any storm.
And then it's like you find yourself like over little bullshit, stupid things. And then I was like, this is one, a good sign because it's a little bit more of normalcy. And then I was also like, but you know better.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so it's a little bit of that. And so to answer your question, I've always had a great appreciation for life. Even before all this, I have a greater appreciation.
You've always been an optimist.
Yeah. And like I have an even greater appreciation. Also for me too, it's about being able to gather in this space without wearing a mask, to be with your friends. Like I will have this thing all the time where I'm like out having dinner with my friends and I'll sometimes start crying because I'm like, this is all I dreamed about for 2.5 years of just wanting to be able to go and have dinner with your friends and like not wear a mask and just like be normal. And so for me, I really, I like love those when I can tap in and be like, yes, and going to a Broadway show, thinking of all these things that I was just like riding the subway, you know, just
Pumping
like
the gas,
things,
going to the
pumping
grocery
the gas.
store.
I was
Going
weeping
to
at
the
the gas
grocery store.
station and being like, yeah, it's just little things that you're like, I wasn't able to do this for so long. And so and sometimes I forget it like a normal person, but I really do try to like remember that and being able to physically do my job, being able to dance again. My voice was affected. They did a great job from the surgery. They didn't do anything wrong, but my muscles tightened so much around my vocal cords that I'm still recovering from that. And I'm in voice lessons for that because it's part of who I am and I want to be able to get that back. So when you can sing one note higher this week, you know?
Yeah.
And like being able to take a dance class or like something not hurting this time. Those things I always really try to take a moment and have some gratitude for because I think about the girl in the room, bald, not being able to walk, stuck in there and being like, this is all she ever wanted was just to be able to get up her 4 flights of stairs, you know?
Yeah.
And so I really try to clock that as much as I can.
That's so beautiful, Shayla.
Love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
Both of you.
Love it. This
Thank
was,
you.
man, we
So
really packed
beautiful.
it in.
I know. I could talk to you for like 5 hours about all
We're
this.
going to. We're going to wrap up today with just some lighthearted rapid fire questions.
Oh, ooh, I'm nervous. Okay, I'm ready.
So here we go. Just off the top of your head. Here we go. Roller coaster or Ferris wheel?
Roller coaster.
If you were a vegetable, which would you be?
An asparagus.
Who is your favorite cartoon character?
All I can think of is Bugs Bunny right now.
What's the last thing you ate?
Gnocchi. Ooh, last night.
Intermittent fasting. You can only ever drive a school bus or a clown car. Which do you choose?
Oh, a clown car.
Okay, where we go? Oh, right there. Okay, Six Flags or Disney?
Disney.
Do aliens exist?
Yes.
Okay, Kill, Fuck, Marry, Theater Edition. Cats, Hamilton, Oklahoma.
Kill cats. Mary Hamilton.
Fuck
Fuck
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Yeah, Judd, Curly. Yeah, fuck Oklahoma. Okay, what is a noun?
A person, place, or thing.
Okay, 2000s Mall Edition. Orange Julius or Cinnabon?
Cinnabon.
Good answer.
Get those
100%. Yes.
That was a good one.
answer,
I was
Shayla.
nervous.
I know, right? It kind of gets you.
But after cancer, rapid fire questions.
What is a rapid fire?
Very quickly, are there any resources that were super helpful for you? Either, I don't know, either medical resources or TikTok pages or anything that were very helpful for you while you were going through this that our listeners might be able to grasp onto?
Totally. Well, this is Florida based, but if you can find any place like this, it was called the Sari Center and they offered a lot of holistic healing. So I have a therapist that I've been going to for 4 years that's a cancer-based therapist. Acupuncture, massage, lymphatic massage, like all sorts of things. Any type of holistic healing I think is super helpful. Especially in recovery, people forget about that part. I also read Suleika Jawad, who's John Batiste.
That book is unbelievable.
Between Two Kingdoms.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book.
And then also Graceful Woman Warrior. This was another book that a woman that actually passed away from breast cancer. She's a cousin of one of my dear friends. And just her take on life. And I mean, when I finished the book, I was just weeping in the transfusion center because it just felt like she was my friend. And just to feel like somebody is in it with you. And then also just talking to friends that have gone through this and are close to my age to just I have a great friend, Katie, who's a tongue cancer survivor. And she has really been a lifeline for me of just being able to not feel so crazy when you're just like, are you going through this too? Yep, I'm going through this too. And being like, okay, this is the deal. So I would say other survivors as well.
Thank you, Shayla.
Thank you both
Where
so
can
much.
our followers find you on social media?
On Instagram at Shayla Benoit and at Shady Theatrics.
Yay.
Yeah,
and website is shaylabenoit.com or
Well, both. There's ShaylaBenoit.com and Shady if I could speak. ShadyTheatrics.com.
use Shayla for all your videography needs.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This was
Thank
such a
you.
beautiful
Thank
episode.
you all.
Thank you for your
Yes.
vulnerability.
Thank you
and
both
thank
for
you for your
having me.
vulnerability.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Both of you,
the
really
space.
so beautiful.
Thank
Love
you.
you. See you
we
guys
love y'all.
next
Yeah,
time.
make sure you like,
subscribe,
subscribe.
follow Into the Mud
and
podcast.
We'll have a link with all of those resources that Shayla shared. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thank
Bye.
y'all. Bye.
Bye.